Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem min hamzihi wa nafthihi wa nafthihi. And I welcome all of you radiant souls to the sunnah of Suhoor, hormones, metabolism, and the spiritual strength. So today in our day one of Ramadan Healing Series, we are going to discuss how the sacred intersections of ruh, body, and energy is basically derived as a divine rhythm which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in us to collect that spiritual energy and in the time and intention of suhoor. So as we see, the Prophet ﷺ said that each suhoor, for in suhoor there is a blessing, and all Muslims, we are prescribed to eat suhoor, which is the quietest moment of a believer's time. So this is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, and this is not just a meal, it is a spiritual technology. It stabilizes hormones, it's a metabolic anchor, a prophetic wisdom that modern science has just now begun to understand. But one of the important points I would like to discuss, number one, is suhoor as a mercy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah 187 that eat and drink until the white thread is distinguished from the black thread. Now this is of course when you see the light of dawn. And Imam Ahmad reported that Abu Sa'id narrated Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, suhoor is a blessed meal and do not abandon it, even if just take a sip of water. Take a sip of water. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his angels, they send salawat, blessings upon the person who takes suhoor. So suhoor, do not take suhoor very unimportantly. Don't give it. Some people, they are just sleeping, they don't wake up for suhoor. They just tend to get the energy from the previous iftar, and this is not for us, because this is a concept of al-wisal, which is only for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him the spiritual energy, and he's given that energy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feeds him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him wisdom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's in direct contact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way where if he does al-wisal, that is okay for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he forbade his companions not to do al-wisal. So anyway, this ayah is not simply a legal boundary, ayah 186, it is an invitation for the people to nourish their body before they step in the fast. And this is more to stabilize the heart, to get their mind ready, to to keep them in a circadian rhythm throughout Ramadan, that they have to wake up for qiyamul layl, suhoor, take a little nap in the night too, and to prepare the ruh for the clarity for the day. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it is not about quantity, it's not about how much you eat, it can be just a sip of water. It's about the timings and it's about the intention. You wake up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you eat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in this Allah places barakah. Now that barakah can take so many different forms. There are, as I said in the first video, there are only 5 senses where we can see the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whereas as a human being it's impossible to measure the spiritual energies, impossible to measure ruh, impossible to measure. Even now science is saying that a heart has its own mind, heart has its own ruh, it has its own wisdom. So it's impossible to measure in this asbab of dunya, to measure these things. So I would like to talk about the hormonal wisdom of suhoor. What is the hormonal wisdom of suhoor? That the cortisol balances, thyroid function normalizes, blood sugar stability, leptin and ghrelin regulation, so you kind of don't feel hungry throughout your fast, and that is amazing. These two hormones are responsible for increasing the appetite, decreasing the appetite. So it reduces cravings, suhoor gives you that emotional stability to survive until iftar and do all your salah on time, then the nervous system grounding. This is so profound that it reduces the sympathetic overdrive of flight and flight. Your body does not think that it's in a danger zone, there is lack of nutrients, lack of food, it's in a war zone. No, the body knows that now I have taken the amount I need, taken the calories I need to survive for the whole day. So this is not random. This is a design in itself. Allah created the body to thrive when we follow the rhythms of sunnah. Waking up for suhoor in itself. There is a hadith that quoted from Ibn Abbas. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Seek help by eating suhoor for fasting that day. Seek help by eating suhoor." We're not seeking help from suhoor in itself, but it's, again, I'm going to say, the intention, the timings. Of course, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We seek always help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following the Sharia, by following as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to do in the Quran. When we follow that, then we surely get nasta'in, the help of we also get, helped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by taking a brief rest at midday for praying at night. So you sleep after dhuhr a little, not really sleep. If you want, you can do a cat nap, just so that you get that energy for the night. This is for the normal body, the Sahabas, for us, people like us. And this hadith is in Sunan Ibn Majah 1693, book 7, hadith 56. Now, what the modern physiology looked at the suhoor when they came up with intermittent fasting, dry fasting, wet fasting, and every doctor had its own kind of fasting regime. So they saw in their research that it prevents fatigue, it prevents brain fog, it improves concentration, it improves focus, difficulty in concentrating. If you have difficulty in concentrating, you should be fasting other than Ramadan. Then because it improves memory, it reduces headaches, reduces irritability, dehydration, low blood pressure, fatigue, then hypoglycemia. If you're diabetic, suhoor is very important for you. Mood swings, if you have migraines, anxiety, it reduces anxiety spikes, it reduces cortisol surges. Cortisol is the main hormone which is responsible for stress in any body. So if you're a person who is stressed a lot, try to take suhoor. Even if you take 2 dates, a cup of water, it's going to work for you, inshallah. Bismillah. And suhoor, this shows suhoor physiologically supports patience. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ linked fasting with patience. If you are a person who has more anxiety, take suhoor and keep your fast. Maintains peristalsis, prevents constipation. I can go on, and it basically gives you a little energy for keeping up your fast, for making, giving you the energy for the day. And what did the Prophet ﷺ eat for suhoor? So he ate dates, barley, porridge, simple water, milk, light nourishments, whole foods. And let's look at the spiritual dimension of suhoor. So when angels, not only angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending salawat on the person who does suhoor, this in itself is so big paradigm to even, imagine that how they would be sending salawat. And it said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes in 1/4 of the night to hear person what is he praying for. So you can also pray at the time of suhoor. The dua is accepted, and the veil between the heart and Allah softens at that time. So again, we came to the time, and make sure the intention is to fast only for the rida, for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the ruh becomes receptive, and the shaitan's waswas becomes weak, because there's no person on earth who does not get the waswas of shaitan. Allah has given him the permission to, influence us through waswas. When we try to control our nafs amara, and try to become a good person and go towards nafs mutma'inna, the waswas of shaitan eventually weakens. And one of the steps, one of the rituals is Ramadan. Ramadan fasting helps us. Now, I would also like to say that in Ramadan, all the shayateens are not trapped fully. I can tell you this from my experience of Ruqya and Hijama. Some of the patients are still jinn possessed during Ramadan, and those can be the little jinns, because all the big jinns, the big shayateen, iblis and ifrit, they get chained in Ramadan, but the little ones, they're probably their children, or their women or whoever, the jinns from the jinns, they are still out there, because the Muslim jinns, they fast also in Ramadan. So if you want to get the full pleasure of Ramadan, try to fast with the correct niyyah, the timings, and suhoor will help you, inside in a open that sacred window where you get connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the hamzat, everybody's born with the hamzat, with the shaitan, so that becomes weak. And if you can able to grab him and control him and weaken him, eventually the waswas of other shaitans will also get weak, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. There are lentil, you can create different suhoor guides, inshallah. If I could, I can do a video on that too, but I don't want this video to be longer than 10-12 minutes. I think we've already reached the time, so inshallah in the next video we can talk about what we can eat for suhoor, so that keeps us calm during the day. And in the end, I would just like to say that suhoor is not a burden. It's just a moment of that intimacy, connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a moment of nourishment, a moment of alignment. And I can just pray that may our suhoor be filled with barakah, clarity, and right intention and serenity. So inshallah, we'll see you in the next videos. Assalamu.